Hi everyone, I'm Phaedra and this channel is Phaedra Gardeness, and for the past 4 years I've been documenting our flower farming journey and teaching about that, teaching about floristry and selling flowers. There's a huge back catalogue here on YouTube of all of that if you want to go watch it after this video. Otherwise, welcome, and this video is about burnout. So I'll just get straight into it and I'll start with the journey. We started the flower farm 4 years ago. We're in our 5th season now. We've just started our 5th season. And we started, the whole thing sort of came from a place, like I haven't shared the exact story. But essentially we were kind of in a situation where we were really tired of kind of working very average jobs for other people and sort of getting nowhere. And we thought we need a way to kind of get out of that lifestyle, that 9-to-5 lifestyle where your life is owned and controlled by somebody else. Essentially, that's how we felt. You know, like on some jobs you have to ask to go to the toilet. You know, like everything is at somebody else's discretion. Like we just kind of got really sick of it, and it wasn't much money anyway, so we were just like, you know what, let's see how we go with this. And anyway, we had an experience. It was a very spiritual experience. This probably isn't the video to share that in, but I will share that at some point. And the answer that came out of that spiritual experience was start a flower farm. And I'll share all of this in another video, but essentially that's what happened. So we started a flower farm. And we started from scratch. We didn't have a lot of resources. We didn't have a lot of money. And it was just the two of us working on this. So year one, we just really built as many beds as we could. And we kind of dabbled in selling flowers, like to test the water, see what would happen. We weren't doing a lot that first year. It was really just sort of a practice year. And it went really well and we were loving it. And so by the second year, so our years are from the start of July to the end of June. That's our financial year, but for us it's also our seasonal year because our summers are in December, January, February. We have hot Christmases. So over winter is kind of when the year changes over for us in terms of the business and farming. So that first year went really well. We felt good about it. We felt validated by God that we're doing the right thing too. You know, everything felt right. And then we kind of, by the end of that first year, felt like we felt like you can't go all in while you're working for somebody else. That was kind of where we're at. So my job is very seasonal anyway. And Moreau and I just thought, you know, this job that he's doing, it's never going to lead anywhere. Like, it's nice to have a stable income, like you know how much you're getting every week. But essentially, if he left the job and then the flowers didn't work out, it wasn't going to matter. Like, he can just go get another job like that. It wasn't a big deal. So he quit. And we were on our own, like in charge of making our own money. In the meantime, we had engaged with a florist wholesaler. So we'd started up a florist business, and if we didn't have enough flowers that we were growing, we were purchasing them from the wholesaler, and it was like this hybrid system, and it allowed us to work all year, which is what we did. And we did that for a few years. Then it was always sort of a constant trial and error of how to sell flowers. Like, where are we selling these flowers to? So we sort of started out, you know, people knew we had flowers, so people would just contact us if they wanted some. And we were doing a Saturday market every Saturday, and we were selling roadside most days. So it was a lot of like very high turnover of flowers. And then the pandemic hit during the middle of this, but with the rules in our country and in our state, we were still allowed to operate because we were doing deliveries. And that went really well. Like, we sold lots and lots of flowers during that time. And, you know, things went really well. Like, financially, we were doing quite well, considering this was a brand new business and everything's kind of going well. Couldn't do, most of the markets we couldn't do during the pandemic. although the market we went to was predominantly food, sometimes the rules kept changing. Sometimes we could turn up with the flowers, other times we weren't allowed to be there. So it was very hit and miss. But during that time, we kind of had some bad experiences with the market. I think it's all run by volunteers essentially. Like, no, I don't think anyone's being paid to manage this market. But it wasn't, it kind of felt like other people were having a big say in how our business was being. You know, there's so many rules about what you can and can't do at the markets and, you know, just things like that. And, you know, you have to have insurance for the market, you have to give them copies. Anyway, we got some fairly substantial damage to our car from another vendor who turns out didn't have insurance. And the market had never actually chased her up. And she was quite a big player at this market, you know, like she was one of the people that helped organise it. So it was a really big drama for us to try to get that sorted. And in the end, the market paid for, they covered it. We didn't want our insurance to have to cover it because then our premiums go up and it wasn't our fault. And the market should have been on top of that to make sure she had her insurance in place. Anyway, it all got sorted, but it took months and it kind of really put a damper on us selling at markets. So we didn't really do that. There is one we'll still do around Easter. That's it. So then we just kind of went pretty much full-time roadside. So essentially what that looked like was I would make flowers throughout the day. I'd pick early in the morning or late the evening before, condition, and then depending when I'd pick the flowers, at least 4 hours later, then making up the flowers. And if it was cooler or we needed to supplement, trips to the wholesaler, very early morning trips. And we live about 40 minutes from the wholesaler. So, you know, twice a week going into the wholesaler, coming back. Like it was a lot of kilometers. Like I just felt like I lived in the car. And a lot of time just making the same thing over and over and over and over. Like high volumes of the same bouquet, essentially. We had 2 price points, so... but it went well. Like we were making an income again. Still continuing to make that income. It was going really well. And then by last season, like season 4, the roadside sales really dropped off. Like I think most parts of the world, the economy's really slumped. So people just can't afford to buy flowers. Like if you're struggling to pay rent and buy food, you can't buy flowers too. And many of our customers were buying flowers for themselves. So that all kind of fell apart and we were sort of we sat on it for a while, but it became very evident we don't think this is picking up. We actually think it's getting worse. And Moroni had this idea that he'd like to do gardening for other people. So he just put a post up in our community group, like where we live, offering his services, and suddenly he's sort of booked out. So this business idea that he had just sort of took off straight away, and he's been doing that since. So it's almost been a year for him doing that. So he works with a lot of what it is, people have put gardens in, haven't looked after it. It's got way out of hand. He goes in, fixes it all up, and then he maintains it. So, and we live out of town. Like there's not many like suburban backyard block style gardens. They're big, you know, like landscaped gardens. So he's loving it. His skills are being put to use. You know, he's an agronomist and he knows a lot about plants and the health of plants and, you know, little mistakes people make that they don't realize are actually damaging plants. Like he kind of picks up on it, fixes things up. He treats problems on trees, and like he's just getting people's gardens sorted, which is really nice. He's loving it. So then that became our main income. I stopped doing roadside and we just worked on online sales, which were building up. We were making, getting more and more sales online, just as a sort of traditional florist business without a location though. People would put orders through the website and I'd go make the flowers up and go out and deliver. But of course that had its issues too, and this could work for some people, but it was very all over the place. And like I mentioned, we live a fair way out of town. So I could have my day planned, the kids have got things to do, and then all of a sudden an order comes in and I've got to get it out. So I kind of had to drop everything, make flowers, and then go do a delivery. And in most cases it worked out fine. Sometimes we felt like we had to juggle it too much, but it was okay. Like the money we were charging you know, standard florist fees really, like maybe a little bit cheaper than other florists, but at the same time we're putting more flowers in because we had flowers. So very good value for money. It was making good money for us. But you know, there was just these little things, and the whole time I was just go, 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 like just never stopped. Like I'd work 15-hour days. There would be, Moronite's just come home. Oh, I thought he was going to drive the car. He is driving the car all around. We're going to hear it. He's waving. Yeah, so along this whole time, I was just in, almost felt like autopilot, like just constant go, go, go. I'd get up really early in the morning. I'd work through. I just had so much work to do. And on top of looking after the kids and looking after a house, we have commitments with our church, like just, and then trying to have a life. You know, I was easily kind of working just 12 to 15-hour days, and I did that for years, like nearly 4 years. It kind of felt like this, you know, like just go, 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 go. And there were days where all I wanted to do was rest, but I couldn't because I had to get things done. And then the start of this year, I started doing 2 videos a week on YouTube because I'm really wanting to build the channel. And that is one part of the whole story that actually brought joy, because I really love doing this. So I was happy. I felt really accomplished to be able to do this because I fairly consistently release 2 videos a week, like the vlog on the Saturday and then some sort of informational video during the week. And I did that for 6 months, like it went really well. But alongside all this chaos, like all these moving parts of trying to run a florist business, manage a farm, grow flowers, because when Moroni went off, his business took off, like he's now working full time for other people, like as a contractor. I took over managing the farm, which I actually really love. That's another thing I loved. But I really did spend too much time out there. Like I could have done things slower, but at the same time, I'm quite happy about where we're up to. So I don't really regret that part. But there was all this chaos. And then on top of that, I had some really big things going on, like events that I needed to prepare for. And then we were also planning for a trip to Mexico because we hadn't seen our family for 5 years, and we just needed to get over there. We needed to be with our family. So there was this just build up through the start of this year, you know, from sort of January to May. And because I was going away, I was doubling up on videos to try to get that backlog so that so I didn't have to work while I was overseas. It would just be scheduled on the channel. And it was just, I knew I was getting burnt out, but I thought you almost have this false sense of reality that you know you're burning out, but you think, I can just get a little bit further, I can get a little bit further, I can get a little bit further. And at the same time, we don't have a backup plan. Like we have to make money ourselves or there is no money. So there's also that we were trying to balance, and going overseas, it's very expensive. So we were just working. We go to Mexico and it's wonderful. Like it is so nice to be with our family, and they look after us so well. Like everything, all we had to do was get ourselves there and they took care of everything else. Like it was so good. And we went down to a resort at Cancun. And I remember walking around this resort, like it was beautiful. I didn't have to do anything, absolutely nothing. You want something, you just call somebody and they come and do it for you. No cooking, no cleaning, nothing. It's like that feeling where you don't really know what to do with your hands. So I was kind of walking around for the first couple of days, just feeling, first time in years, I was feeling like, oh, this is what it's like to not have to work. It was a very surreal experience. Even the kids felt it, like they were just so happy, and they were sort of like just this freedom. Like, is this what it's like when you don't have to do anything? But so I'm feeling that and realizing how incredibly stressed I was. And when there's nothing, when all of that is taken away, because we're now on holiday. And not just on holiday, we're at a resort where you do not lift a finger. I mean, you don't even get your own drinks. They just constantly bring them to you. So we literally had to do nothing for 4 days, and it really hit me. This is what it's like to not be stressed. And I realized how much stress I was under, and I'd started having thoughts about, right, when we go home, we need to change things. Anyway, so we're in Mexico for a little bit longer, and we all got sick. Everybody got sick except for Shani. And I had already gone over to Mexico sick. I was starting to just the stress of everything, I'd started to sort of physically break down, if that makes sense. So I had gone over there feeling unwell, and then I got sick while I was there, and it was really hard. 4 of us got sick. And I think it was just a combination of the burnout was setting in. I was physically unwell. I felt quite unwell, actually, in Mexico. And then that, of course, came home with us. And it just really, really hit, because then the jet lag hits. So then we've come home from Mexico, supposed to be getting back into work. If we're not working, we're not making money. So we're thinking we've got to get back into work, and I just couldn't, barely move. My mind it felt like cotton wool and mush in there. My body, it didn't matter how much I wanted to do something. I felt like I was just going to cry if I had to do anything. I just physically and mentally and emotionally just couldn't cope with anything. And that's when I realized I've got fairly severe burnout. So a little side note, while we were in Mexico, we put the business on hold. Obviously, we didn't want anyone to order flowers while we were gone because we couldn't fulfill the orders. So I put blocks on all the products on the website so they couldn't be ordered. Excuse me. And I had a big notice up, we're closed, we're back here at this time, blah, blah, blah. But when I got back, I opened it up. Orders were going really well before we left, lots of momentum. We got back and nothing. I think in the space of a month, we got 1 order, which normally would be freaking out about, but I was sort of so unwell, I didn't really care. I felt grateful to not have to be racing. But then at the end of that month, when I thought, you know what, we had 1 order that whole month. And in that time, I'd been going to the wholesaler to make sure I had flowers on hand. And I didn't have the energy to even make those flowers up into something else to give to somebody else. So what happened was I was just throwing them out like they were being composted. And in the end, I looked at our books, and the business was costing us more than what we were making. And I said to Moroni, because the economy had got really bad. By the time we got back, it was really bad. People were really struggling. I said to Moroni, I don't think that this business is viable anymore. And long story short, I've got a video on this, the business failure video. It's a few videos back. I'll link it at the end if you want to go and watch that. It's all covered in that video, so I won't cover it here. But yeah, essentially we shut the business down. I'm just going to move. I'm in the sun. Hang on. That's better. I'm not squinting so much now. All right, where was I? I do have notes. Okay, business failed. I closed the business down temporarily. I sort of let everybody know we're closing for the winter. I did not want to have to buy flowers. So it was sort of like we're closed until we are growing our own flowers again. Because at this point in time, the economy is so bad, I don't want to be wasting money on flowers. I mean, not just for the fact that that's actually not a viable business, that's ridiculous to do that, but also everybody's struggling, including us. Everything is so expensive right now. So we definitely can't be throwing away money. And as much as you don't want to shut a business, if it's costing you more to keep it open, you need to shut that thing down. It's not working. So that's what we did. So that's a little side note, and I'll come back to that in a bit. So burnout. Got a little bit of a definition of burnout for you. So I'm not sure how many of you know what it feels like or what it's like, but I'm going to describe that for you now. So burnout comes from a prolonged response to chronic interpersonal stresses. It is characterized by physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion. For me, it just felt like I was sort of detached from my body. My body felt very heavy, like it wouldn't let me do things, and my mind was so clouded. Have you ever had cotton wool brain? When I had COVID, I had it. Just you can't think. Like, it's like the cogs are just turning very slowly and there's something in the way. They're not operating properly. The burnout feels like that for me. So I wanted to do things, but I mentally and physically couldn't do them, which is why I was grateful that I didn't have orders coming in, because it would have been horrendously difficult to have done those things. I would have ended up really hating it. And probably, if I hadn't realised I had burnout, I would have ended up probably very seriously unwell from it as well. I became very oversensitive to sounds, too many things moving around me, being around too many people. I was teary, and it wasn't a depression type of teary. Like, I have bouts of depression, and it wasn't like that. It felt more like whatever was going on the inside was bubbling over, and that's how it was coming out. And it was kind of not controllable, like very emotional. Things would make me very teary at times. Well, actually, a lot of the time. It's like your system is shutting down to protect you. That's what it's like. So I needed lots of time alone. I could only manage bare essential things to get us all through. Keeping in mind, at the start of this, when we'd just got back from Mexico, I'd realised I've got burnout, but I also had jet lag. So we were all as a family suffering from jet lag, and it just meant we were very tired. So we were coincidentally going to bed very early. So we're in bed sort of 8:30 each night, sometimes 7:30 at night, and we would just sleep all night, which turned out really good because I needed so much extra rest. Everybody else recovered from the jet lag, and I didn't because it wasn't just jet lag, it was the burnout as well. So I kind of continued like that for a while, needing lots and lots of rest, lots of sleep. Those recliners that I purchased, that if you've been watching my videos, I purchased some recliner chairs. I've wanted them for years, and I finally went and got some, and I was in two minds about them because they're kind of ugly. But they're so, I had a really stylish lounge room before I got those. But in the end, it worked out the most perfect timing that I had these chairs. So it was really good, to take rests in them. And I could feel my body. It was like when I had the concussion. You'll do some work and you just know you have to go and stop and rest. So I just kept doing that. Every time I felt overwhelmed or anything like that, I'd go and rest. I think that's a really essential key. I didn't have the luxury of pushing through anymore because I knew that it would get worse if I didn't stop. So the recliners were excellent. I'm just reading some notes. Fatigue was another thing. So not being able to concentrate on things very much, trying to have in-depth conversations, my brain would just tap out. It's nah, we can't do that today. So it was hard to kind of have long conversations with anybody. Social interactions were really hard. I basically withdrew. So I didn't really go out anywhere, and it was good because it was winter. And it's been a very cold winter, not wet, which was interesting, but a very cold winter. So a lot of people didn't want to do stuff anyway. So I didn't really have people bugging me to want to do things, which was good. I feel like the timing of this was perfect. I'll talk about that in a bit as well. Oh, with the whole sleep thing. So I used to get up really early, between sort of 5:30 and 6:30 a.m. I stopped doing that, and I just kind of stayed in bed for as long as I could. I needed a lot of rest to try to pull myself out of this. Oh, the other thing was with the fatigue, driving. I've always had a bit of trouble with long distance driving. It makes me really tired. I don't know what it is. Get in a car and I feel tired. And it got really bad. And I'm still suffering from that a little bit. Coming home from town yesterday, that was a 30-minute drive yesterday. I was thinking if I was further away from home, by the time it hit me, I would have had to pull over and have a nap. And I was 10 minutes from home. If I had been still in town or 20 minutes, I would have had to pull over and have a quick nap before I got home. So that's been very challenging, and it's made me not want to drive places. We used to go to Melbourne every month, We haven't done that for months. We haven't actually done that, I think, all year, but since we got back, we were planning to get back into it once we got back from Mexico, but we haven't done that. We were going to go to Sydney. We haven't done that. We're going to go visit my dad. He's a 10-hour drive away. I just physically can't do it. Like, I can't manage to do that drive. And with Moroni as well, he's a little bit the same with driving. Like, we can't rely on each other to tag team drive because we still feel like one has to stay awake to make sure the other one's like safe to drive. So it's not a scenario where either of it, we can't one sleep while the other drives. It's just not going to work. So the driving thing has become very difficult, and we just do short trips. And if we're doing a longer trip, we have to get a really good rest the night before. If we have a crappy night's sleep, we have to cancel the trip. So it's a really good way to like lose friends, but thankfully friends and family have been very understanding, and they don't really even fully know exactly what's going on unless they watch this video. So, we've got good friends and family, so that's good. So I withdrew from society, really. Like, people probably didn't really even see me much over winter. Like, I'd normally walk down the street in Yak, run into a whole heap of people. I'd go down for one simple thing and end up down the street for like 2 hours because I just keep running into people. And then we'd sit and we'd go to a coffee shop. Like, I'd just meander around. But I didn't do that at all. Even if I had to go to the supermarket, I'd send one of the kids in or someone else, I'd sit in the car. Like, I just couldn't face it. And I also withdrew online. So if you're on my Instagram or Facebook, you will have noticed I've hardly posted anything. Like, I almost couldn't stare at screens. And then on Patreon, I knew I was going to have to disappear from there. So basically what I did was I put people's memberships on hold, refunded them the last 2 months membership because I hadn't done anything, and I just thought not fair to charge people if I'm not delivering them what they signed up for. So I have fixed that now. I'll talk about that in a bit. So that the tier is a lot cheaper now, and it operates different. It's more like a journal now. So anyway, we'll get back to that. The other thing is with YouTube, I think because I really enjoy doing the videos, like that's my creative outlet. Like, that was my escape to create videos. And if you've been watching along, you will have noticed I've got to move out of the sun again. This sun. I'm getting closer and closer to the wattle, which gives me a hay fever. It is pretty though. Hope you enjoy it. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I enjoyed the YouTube. But I mean, as an example, I'll just tell you on my phone, this is how much I just ignored everything. I've got 455 voicemails, like missed calls, and 557 unread text messages. I can't even tell you how many unread emails and other things. So if you've tried to contact me in some way over the past few months, this is why. Like, I just ignored everything. Like, I'll probably discover later on that there's been things that have been like, I'll be like, oh no, I totally missed that. I tried to stay on top of things as much as I could, but I even just staring at a screen was too much. I couldn't have conversations with people. It's been awful, actually. But the good news is the healing process. I have come out of the worst of it. And that's why I'm now talking to you, because I couldn't have done this before. I just would have sat here and cried. So I can talk about it now. For healing, phase 1 was just trying to get my brain and body and everything back out of that freak out mode. It really felt like my body and my brain, my emotions, everything was just freaking out. So I just really had to get myself out of that first, which is sort of what I've talked about, just cutting back on things. But more specifically, the business failure was kind of actually felt like it rescued me. And I did feel at the time that this will end up having a happy ending. But, and that's still unfolding, but I couldn't do it. And pulling back on the business has made me realize a lot of things about it I didn't actually like. And it's given me the opportunity to reassess how things are going to look moving forward, which has been really good. like I didn't really love selling flowers all year round and having to go to the wholesaler so much. It kind of was killing that passion of flowers a little bit, and creatively just making the same thing over and over and over and over. It was just like a production line. To me, that ended up very boring, and it wasn't creative. It was just about making money. So if the business, sorry, I've got hair that keeps flying in my face. So if the business pops back up, it won't look like that anymore, I don't think. But at this stage, it's staying closed for a bit longer. As I've mentioned, I had a lot of rest, and those recliners were, and they still are, absolutely brilliant. Like, we love them. Got something in my eye now. So during that intense period where I wasn't very well, trying to nourish myself with food. And the good thing was we just got back from Mexico, and while we were in Mexico, we were so well looked after. Like, our family just took care of absolutely everything. And the good thing over there is the food is very fresh and very healthy. And I don't like the chocolate in Mexico. Oh, I'm sorry if Ed and Caddy are watching this. Hopefully you're not disappointed to hear that, but I don't really like the chocolate in Mexico. It's not very good. So I didn't eat much chocolate, which got my chocolate cravings kind of under control, which was really good. There was just a lot of benefits to being in Mexico. And then, you know, like, we came back craving good, nourishing food and putting more effort into preparing it. And that's been really good, you know, just trying to nourish our bodies better, because if you've watched along, there'd be days where I just wouldn't eat all day. I'd then eat at the end of the day because I was too busy. And now we make the effort to make sure we're actually stopping to eat, which is good. I stopped being so physically active because I think that was stressing my body out as well. Like, just going for nice walks. They're kind of fast, but I enjoy the walks, like they're therapy. So just walking, and with the videos, you might have noticed they changed slightly as well. Like, they're not chaotic go, 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 go drama and all that stuff. It's become a bit more peaceful and relaxing. There's scenery. And that's just kind of where I'm at. Like, the videos do reflect, like the feel of the videos reflect how I'm feeling at the time. So if you read between the lines when you watch a video, you can get a grasp of kind of where I am, like emotionally and mentally, and where I just am. Like, this is a period of peaceful reflection is really what it's been. So I've kind of got myself to the point where I'm not like in chaos on the inside now. Like, that's that heavy feeling I explained earlier, where your body just, there's something that feels like physically weighing you down. That's gone. Like, in the past few weeks, that's left me, which is really good, which makes me think I've come out of that initial phase of burnout. And then phase 2 is what I'm going to work on now. And that's stuff like, I've had all my bloods done. I'm about to engage with a naturopath to start supplements, because supplements was just not something I could manage mentally at that point. Like, I just needed to get well enough again to be able to focus on more intricate parts of this process. So I'll be doing that soon, working out what supplements I need and start building my body back up. I've started doing more involved exercise. So I've started running again because I actually really love it. It's the one thing that actually gets the weight off me, which I need to get some weight off me because I have gained some weight. And, well, especially since I had James, I never lost the baby weight. But yeah, like, if I don't work on that, I am going to just keep gaining weight. So I've started running. That's very recently started running again. And, you know, watching the food, I've started lifting weights again. You know, like, I'm sort of putting things back into my life again, but they're healthy things, not the toxic things. I'm just going to move my chair again. The sun just keeps chasing me, and I'm a bit of a vampire, so I'm not loving it. Okay, that's better. Oh, it's crooked. Okay, we're back. Trying to make sure the house stays peaceful and calm and is a nice environment for healing, keeping it clean and tidy. I am working on a couple of reno projects, which are very slow because I haven't had the mindset to do it. So I've started being a bit more social again. and I've actually worked on a couple of collaborations. So I've got one with, so on the YouTube channel, one with Robin from the Nature Patch. I'm going to keep coughing now because I'm right next to all the wattle. It's right here. Robin from the Nature Patch, you can check out her video. I'll link it in the description. And we talk about 10 essentials for starting flower farming. And it's a really good video. Definitely worth going to watch it if you haven't seen it already. And I have worked on another collaboration. I can't talk about that yet, but you may see that sometime before Christmas, which is exciting. And I'm also preparing a collaboration of my own. And I hope to start reaching out to other creators about that one soon. And I hope to get that done before Christmas, but we'll see how I go. I don't want to push myself too hard. And the other thing is my relationship with God. Like during the past 4 years, I was so focused on the business that it fell by the wayside. And I regret it. I really regret it. And I knew it was happening and I shouldn't have let it happen, but it has been a big wake-up call and a big lesson that I may not be in the position I am in now, having ended up sort of so unwell, if I had have kept including God in everything and following his lead and praying about things. It's such a stupid mistake. I'm gonna have to move again. Wattle is so pretty, but it's a hazard, health hazard. Okay, let's move on to phase 3. So I'm not in this phase yet, but I kind of am. There's a crossover. I'm working on, more involved things with, sorting out nutrients and supplements and things. But the other thing is, I don't ever want to be in this situation again. And I need to do better with self-care. And I know I've talked about it on this channel and I do things, but I was doing too much. And I'm going to have to, moving forward, really try to monitor myself with what I take on and really say no to more things. Even if they feel like opportunities, just say no to them. It's really hard when you need to weigh up your health versus making money, especially right now. All around the world, it is, people are really struggling. It's the income and money thing is so difficult. So trying to find that balance between making enough money and maintaining good health is really hard. But that is something I'm working on. I need to find that balance, do it better, work smarter, not harder. I'm just trying to work out how that's going to look and how I'm going to do that moving forward. I knew I was burning out and I ignored it. That's not something I can do again. I have to pick up those signs early. And probably at the point where I started thinking to myself, I'm burning out, I'm going to burn out. I think at that point it's already gone too far. I think the best way to realize it is listen to what other people are saying. So often other people will notice how you're traveling and they'll say things to you. And I think we need to become really good at picking up on those little things that others are saying to us that would indicate we're burning out. What are those things that we do or say, or how are we being, or how are we interacting, or how are we not interacting, that people, because they're probably not going to walk up and say, hey, you're burning out. But there might be something like, hey, we've noticed you haven't been, coming to church, which we kept going to church, but let's just say that. Or, oh, we noticed that you haven't been coming to our catch-ups lately. Or, wow, you just don't sleep, you just go, you're so busy. I think we need to figure out what are the things that we do that can lead to burnout. And when we start hearing other people echo that back to us, we have to listen. So that's what I'm working on. Building up my relationship with God again, getting back into that, being regular with prayer and scriptures and listening to him and just having him back in my life fully again. And also with the kids, I'm grateful that they don't have to sit in the car all the time while I'm working, delivering flowers or going to the wholesaler, because I'm trying to juggle being a mum and a business, which I just don't think you can work full time and be a mum. Well, I can't anyway. So I'm glad that the kids will now get, I feel like the kids became an extension of what I was doing. And I feel like that's not very fair. You know, like they need to develop who they are and do things that bring them joy and help them grow as people as well. And there's a balance. Like I can't just do everything for the kids and do nothing for myself. Like I feel like we all need a chance to grow as individuals in a family, but also grow as a family. And I'm grateful I've now got the time to be able to reflect on that and think about it. So that's why I'm pretty grateful that the business failed, because it pulled me out of that loop where I couldn't see things, I couldn't consider things, I couldn't reflect anymore. I was just so stuck and I didn't know it. So lessons that I've learned, which I've kind of touched on, was it worth it? Absolutely not. You know, the past 4 years, I think building the farm, 100% worth it. Like we're so happy we've got it. And look, if things get really bad with the economy, we've got all that growing space. You know, we could, I don't want to cut out the flowers, but if we had to, we could, which feels like security. As long as you've got seeds on hand, you've got food. Within 3 months, you've got food. So that actually feels really good. I know that we really put so much work and effort into that. We could have made it easier by not doing it all by hand. If we had have just got that rotary hose sooner, like there are things that could have been done more economically. But overall, really happy with that side of things. I do regret pushing so hard with the business and just burning myself out. We needed money, but was the money worth it? Not really. You know, not at the expense of health, family, God. You know, I think if I had have stayed close to God during that time and kept praying, I think I would have ended up in a better place. Like we would have been guided so that this didn't happen. That's how I feel. And we would have been able to reflect on things and not have got to the point where everything fell apart and we kind of have to start again on something. And in all of this, I realized money is not what I want. A beautiful life is what I want. The tricky thing is you do need money to have that beautiful life. But I need to do it in ways that are more sustainable and more enjoyable, because there were a lot of things about that florist business that I didn't love. Like they just felt like massive drags. And if you've got to the point where you've pulled away from mainstream work to create your own world and your own life, you really do want to have as much of the stuff in it that you love. Like that's what we're working on now. Like how do we make this work in a way that's joyful? There's still going to be things that we don't want to have to do that we're going to have to do. That's going to be in anything we do in life. But just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat every day, making the same bouquets and the same thing. That is just not for me. Like that's not how I want to make money. We've learnt that family and friendships are so important. You can't really put those things on hold. And I think subconsciously we thought we maybe could put them on hold, that we could just put everything on hold and say no to everything. There's a really big business guru that's sort of teaching that at the moment. And he's teaching that, well, actually him and his wife are teaching them. I do like them, but I don't like this piece of advice to just basically hide in your cave and build your business and say no to everything. I think if you're in your 20s and you've got no other responsibilities, no kids, no spouse, no partner, nothing, you can probably do it. But I think once you've got kids and a family, I think that window's closed, in all honesty. It's just not worth it. Because it's so important, even friendships, like, can you really do this alone? Like that's the kind of thing that's made us think. And we are building up back into friendships and stuff. I'm still a bit too burnt out to like get fully back into it. But you know, it's something that we have realized, like that was a major lesson in this. I love gardening, I love flowers, I love creating videos, I love teaching what I know and sharing it. those things have become very apparent. Like, I didn't at any point feel like I needed to stop doing that, to take a break from it. I wanted to keep doing those things, which is good. You know, gardens and flowers are very healing. And for me, the YouTube and, you know, documenting that journey for me is a creative outlet. Like, I really needed that. And it was just good that that was confirmed through this. Pulling back from social media, particularly on Instagram and Facebook, was really good. And it's made me think this constant chasing of an algorithm is just wearing people out so bad. And it's overwhelming people. Like, I feel like I don't want to put stuff up on social media unless it's really adding value or I've got something really important to say. I don't really want to waste people's time with just frivolous, random stuff. So I feel like I'm just going to forget about trying to chase an algorithm. I'm just going to do my own thing and see what happens from that. Which, I don't know how that'll go. We'll see. So I guess if you're wondering what to expect from here, with YouTube, the Saturday vlog videos, they're just going to continue. Like, I love doing them. That's sort of part of life for me now. There'll be the very odd time, I think maybe in the past year I've missed 2 Saturdays where I just don't get one out. And sometimes it's because I just didn't feel up to it that week. Sometimes there's something missing from the video and I need to finish it and I'm just not prepared to put it out unfinished, or something has happened and I just haven't had the time to do it. But it doesn't happen very often. Like, that's just part of my life now. I will pop in a midweek video here and there when I've got one. You know, like this one's popping up midweek. Over winter it's been more difficult because I haven't had the flowers for flower content. So I think over summer there's going to be a lot more videos. And then the format at the moment where it's a bit more peaceful and a bit more of an experience to watch my videos, I'm kind of liking it. Would love to know what you think of that. That may continue, it may not, I don't know. But either way, look, at this point I know on Saturdays you'll get a vlog and then you may get a midweek video at other times. And then Instagram and Facebook will be a little bit sporadic. Patreon, I've rejigged that. I've lowered the tier, I think it's $6, like $6, 6 Australian dollars, which would be something like, I think depending on the exchange rate at the time, maybe it's like $4 a month. I just thought no one can afford anything right now. So let's just make it accessible. If a lot of people join, that's going to be a nice little extra income for me and it makes it affordable for you. And I'm just going to treat that like a journal, which I like to express my thoughts. It'll just be added information that you wouldn't see on YouTube, maybe stuff that's a little bit more private that I don't want to put out in a free video to the whole world. You know, just stuff like that. And it's a chance for you to interact with me as well, which we can't really do that well here on YouTube. What can you do to help? Just look after yourself. I'm really hoping by putting this out there that my experience might help you to not go through the same thing and to just look after yourselves and try to figure out what your early signs of burnout are. Start looking for those, you know, the feedback from other people that could be happening. It's awful and it could really, I'm just a person that can keep going. Like I do a lot of stuff. So I think during my burnout, I still managed to actually get on with life. But some people can get it so bad that they can't function, like they can't work at all. And it would be awful. I'd really hate for that to happen to any of you. The other thing is, you know, just keep commenting and liking videos, watching them, share them. The sharing a video, I think, is the thing that does the most with the algorithm, and especially on Instagram, sharing something to somebody on Instagram, like if you just share it to their inbox or whatever you do, I think that's probably the most powerful message to the algorithm that people are liking the content. Yeah, other than that, there's not much else you can do. It's my journey. I'm getting through it, feeling a lot better, and I have been talking about it through videos and I really appreciate people. Everybody's been very kind. Like, I feel like the audience here is amazing. I'm very blessed. Like, I might be growing slowly on YouTube, but I feel like the community we're creating is just amazing. There's no meanies here, which is really good. Anyway, this has been a very long video. I'm going to leave it here, and I hope that it has helped in some way. If not, if nothing else, maybe it's been an interesting listen. I like a good podcast, so I thought I'd put one together for you, and I will see you in the next video.